What's up, everyone, and welcome to Play Hard and Love Big Radio, season number 7, the official podcast of Spotted Dog Yoga and stand-up paddleboard company based out of Folsom, California. Check us out at spotteddogyoga.com. Play Hard and Love Big Radio is dedicated to bringing you the inspirational people and their stories with the hopes that you connect deeper to your center and you go out and live a more purposeful and passionate life. And we've been doing that for 6 seasons, and now we're in the 7th season. It's pretty remarkable. We've got a great show with you today with a returning guest and a really great friend of mine, Mary Lyn Jenkins. So excited to take the time to talk with you today, Mary Lyn. Thank you for being back on the show.
I am so happy to be here. I just wrote down 7. 7 is the number of completion. Does it feel like a complete year right now?
Well, I don't really know the answer to that. It's interesting that you wrote down 7, and that's in like numerology in some way, shape, or form.
Scripturally, historically, 7 is the number of completion. So I don't know. I don't know what that means other than I bet there's a big blessing this year for you and your business.
Well, thank you. I certainly hope so. I feel like we're in a stage in our business where we're working really, really hard and doing a lot of things different and rebranding, which we're going to talk a little bit about with you today, but doing like a lot of work and not really seeing a whole lot of reward yet, other than just like the personal benefit that we get from working with people and shifting and creating communities. It's like a lot of the things that we really want to accomplish haven't yet come to fruition. So hey, I'll take it. Lucky number 7. That's what I'm going to say.
The blessing year, the year of completion.
The year of completion.
How cool though. Yeah. And just speak into that. It's your 7th. That's a huge milestone. The 7th year of podcasting.
7th year of podcasting. Yeah.
Nick, that's really extraordinary.
Well, where it all started, it's kind of funny, is I just was like needed some kind of a platform to say what was on my mind. And so I just took my phone with me in the garage, and I was recording audio messages, and then I would just post them. So I think if you went back to the very, very, very first one, it would be really interesting. It was like me talking to my dogs about life. Yeah.
Right.
So,
well, I knew you then. I knew you before then. So it's very cool. Yeah. That's amazing. It's a big deal.
Well,
no, I think what you just said is so, it's almost too much truth. And we don't like to grab onto it all the time, but just the years of the seasons, I guess, of planting seeds. That's what it sounds like, and it feels like sometimes we're like, okay, God, have I not been planting seeds in enough seasons to now reap a little bit of the harvest? But the actual reality, and I'm sure, some seasons we have to really push aside, kind of the things that, because there's so many things in the way of seeing what the little bits of harvest are. But every season offers something that is it's sprouting up. It really is. I just had a weekend where it's like my oldest son is 20. My youngest child I just have 2, so 20 and almost 18. And it's like, one of them a couple years ago, we thought he's never going to go to college. And that's okay. But you got to do something. Like could you just graduate from high school? That would be a great start. And then we'll take the next step, whatever, we'll encourage you. Well, now he's in college and he doesn't even want to come home to see us anymore. He's gained so much independence. And then I'm with this other one who's like, jumping these huge jumps with horses. And, it's all happening so fast. And though we're so in it both planting seeds and seeing things come to fruition, that we forget how the seeds that we've been planting all along, they are, hard work pays off, is what I'm getting to, in parenting, in and not overnight. And that is I think that's just like our default in living, is we want to see the seed grow tomorrow, and we just don't have the patience to enjoy the moment, enjoy the season where we are, and watch it along the way. And gosh, my kids, even just like, that's just like top of mind, just this past weekend, just some things that, just being with them and around them, and realizing like it's still pretty messy. We're kind of in the seed planting stage, but we're also in, like really seeing, wow, they're doing pretty great. They're giving back to society, and they learned a few things along the way. They're messing up like us, but they're some of the things that were planted are beginning to show up.
What kind of things are you noticing that are showing up for your kids that were seeds that you planted through your parenting years ago?
Mm. Well, I think about, so they've just come off of spring break, and my daughter, who I've become very, very close with, she's just she's awesome. She's a really cool girl. She has a really clear perspective. Um, and I also see a lot of myself in her. That's both good and bad. The kind of good bad component is her degree of independence, and it's a great thing, and it can also be the worst thing. And so what I see though is in it makes me a little bit emotional, but I've cried a lot just being around her, even this past week, a little bit more with spending more time with her through spring break. But um, the seeds of uh, quiet space, backing away, and then really listening for, is this the right time? Almost being in conversation with myself more than with her, because I want to be with her so much and be in conversation with her so much. And I also know, because of her independence, my relationship with her is so much sweeter if I listen to what I see in her. Like, oh, she really does love being with me, but she needs some space from me too. And then approaching her from that listening, instead of just, bombarding her with questions. That's been, I think, through the teenage years. And by the way, like, that didn't happen overnight either. I've screwed up a ton, and like ticked her off, and like she's pushed me away and all of that. But over time, recent seasons, and just really wanting to listen for how she needs to be served, honestly,
Mm.
and how I can be a better friend and a better parent for her, because that's what begins to happen, I think, in the teenage years. They need me, and they also don't need me. They need me to be close. They need me to ask them good questions, but they also need to be in discovery for themselves. And um, so I think that it's it's a really it's a really sweet dance watching your kids grow up into young adults from seeds that you've planted, from messing up, asking for forgiveness, moving on, but then, in a sense, really learning who they are, I mean, they're amazing. Kids become amazing people. They're your kid, but they're amazing people. And when you can have that lens for them, I think, and that's kind of the lens I've really been praying about it, honestly. Like, God, just let me see my kids as the amazing people that they're becoming, and not just, wanting to be their parent. Even though I am still in that role, but I could go on and on, Nick. It's just so cool to see, like, the kids are one of those very, very clear metrics. You watch what you do, what you're layering into them, communication, lack of communication, reaction, overreaction, learning how to respond softly. You see those things become uh, qualities that you know, you've been their guide, and we are in a sense sort of products of our environment, so they learn a lot from us.
Well, and what I like that you're speaking to as well is that as you've seen all these seeds per se come to fruition with your kids, that you're also noticing how you're shifting as a person to adapt to where they are right now. Like,
Yeah.
I imagine you as a parent have shifted a lot since, from in the last 20 years, wouldn't you say?
Oh gosh. I mean, there is no shame, there is no condemnation. I can't go back, and I don't want to live in such a way that I, you know, blame myself for things that I could have, should have done differently. Um, but I'm definitely the better parent today than I ever have been because of the mistakes that I made. And so, in part, it brings up a really cool conversation. I mean, this is all of it. It's all the same thing in a sense. I think we go through life best when we are in relationship. That's what we were designed for. It's what matters most in going through life, and without them, we might not realize how empty we are without deep relationships. But man, when you get them, you realize, like, wow, this is what living is about. Connection, uh, conversations that matter, that move something forward. They move you, and then they move something. Um, it's it's with your kids. It's with great friendships, partnerships, business partners. In work that matters, all that sort of stuff. But I think if you couldn't look back a little bit and see, gosh, I am better now at it. Um, I would have never, I would never be able, I would never, I guess, what is it? Like, that tension is where you grow. So I was not a, no, was I a good parent? I was doing the best I could when they were little, but I was juggling career and goals and travel, and and loving them, not loving them any less, but I had a lot of other things that I was trying to sort through on my own. And do they even know that? No, they don't even know that. That's what's crazy, is like, I'll talk to them now as young adults, like, they remember some things for sure, like really, really clearly. They're like, oh yeah, we remember when you were doing that, mama, or whatever. But they remember things with such grace, where I remember either like not being available for them or overreacting or something. I remember it was such condemnation on myself.
Hmm.
So it's really sweet when you have young adults that you can talk to in a sweet way, in a funny way, and And there's deep relationship there, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that where I'm at right now with three young boys, I do find myself quite a bit of the time frustrated with the way that I respond or frustrated with the way that I act. After the fact, it's like I get it. I'm irritated at myself and feel like I can do better, which I think is important always to, have a gauge of where you are and how, or where I'm at and how I'm acting, and then being able to shift the next time. If
Yeah.
I didn't have that perspective or that kind of self um, inquiry aspect of my life, I think it would be challenging to get better and
Yeah.
improve with time. But also it's like refreshing to hear that your older kids didn't see all that. They see the good things that you do. And
Oh,
and I
yeah.
and I feel like where I'm at in my stage, like I can definitely appreciate the fact that I do a lot of good things for my family and my kids too, and that they do see that, and I know that they do see that. So
Yes, they do
um
see that.
hey folks, if you're not feeling right or if you're in a lot of pain, Back to Health Chiropractic is the place to go. You might not realize it, but neck and back pain are often the last symptoms to show up, and they can fade before the real problems are solved. That's why at Back to Health Chiropractic, they start with a high tech new patient exam to get to the root of the issue. Then they create a personalized care plan that's safe, effective, and more than just a quick fix. If you're ready to feel better and move better, go see Dr. Ron Sims and his associates at Back to Health Chiropractic. Check them out at backtohealthsac.com and make sure you let them know that you heard about them from Play Hard and Love Big Radio. As your kids have gotten older and they've started to find their own independence and whatnot, Mary Lynn, what have you been doing to reconnect to what's most important to you?
Mm. And it's so cool to be able to actually speak this out loud, because I think we're getting older. We're getting older together. They are gaining independence. Okay, what does that really look like for the mama? Well, there's no right answer. There's no right answer. And I work with women. I consult women in their business, and we work on strategy and launch strategy and campaigns and messaging. And I love women in business more than anything. I love serving women who have a dream and they just need some help to cause it to lift up into reality. And women are amazing. Women are brilliant. And part of what I think makes women so brilliant is because they are hardwired for juggling so many different things. It's just the way that we were designed. And thank God that we were designed that way. That's one of the things that we can't help it. We are by nature the mama in the house, whether we have kids or not. We know how to like stir the pot, talk on the phone, get the order done, run the phone calls, whatever, plan for the future, check the boxes. And so it's pretty cool being a woman and then working with women too who are, if they are parents or not, we're all getting older. Bottom line, I'm getting older. And I love seeing my kids getting older. Um, and I miss them too, but I do know that it leaves space for me to dream again. And, and I love dreaming. And I love dreaming and I love, you know, I love creating vision and actually, pretty quick causing that vision to refine and solidify and then act on it. I don't, and that's not every woman, but that is the way I feel like I was made is like, if I see it, I kind of am like, why would I not do this? And I love being creative too. So anyway, all that long story to say, speaking of seeds and not seeing it all come to fruition yet, this past year was like the year of I've got a book in me and I want to write my second book. And so I was I was really able to do that. I believe in great coaches. I had a really great writing coach. I don't know how you would write a book to get to completion if you really didn't have someone on the receiving end of you saying, "How's it going? Okay, let's, strategize on your goal and all this sort of stuff." That's how I got through my first book. I knew that I needed a good coach for the second one. Um, that book, uh, was finished, and it's now in the final formatting, which is really exciting. It's fun to say that. I know, because it's like, holy cow, and it's not that it's old news, it's new news, it's great news. And it's very, the message of the second book, I'm very proud of it because it is very vulnerable. It is, I think, very universal and true for primarily my audience, which is women who are who've experienced suffering. If you haven't experienced some suffering by the time you're, in your late 40s, early 50s, man, hallelujah. And uh, I don't know anybody that hasn't really. The kind of women that I draw closest to and I've learned from, they've had incredible suffering and they're genuine enough to share about it. And it's actually been in part what this book is about, really honoring them and the things that I've learned through all the women in my life. Um, but yeah, so writing has taken a huge front seat in this. My daughter's a senior, so beginning like last year my son was gone, and um, so it freed up some time for writing, and that's been amazing. And um, and then also, you know i had a I had a pretty big dream, probably. I mean, I want to say, Nick, the really, like, the dream was probably 25 years ago. And I get, I'm saying this for you, I'm saying it for me, I'm saying it for anybody that listens to this podcast. Like, in the world of planting seeds, um, you just never know when it's going to actually sprout up. But if you don't let yourself, it's like a risk to actually admit that it's something that you want. It's part of your dream that you're going to pull forward into vision. And then we've done a lot of work around this, and then that vision, I think there's power. We've talked about this before, there's so much power in the spoken word. It's like, well, okay, holy crap, here I go. I'm about to speak it, that I want this, So then you can't, it's almost like, do I want people to know this? Because then I'll fail if it never happens, or all the things that we let ourselves believe. But I started dreaming about a cottage in the woods, and that was it. I did some work with Suzanne Conrad, who is the founder of Lightyear Leadership. I got a certification through her probably 6 years ago. And one of the most powerful components of Lightyear is its vision and goals work. And she really drives her students. And I was a student of hers at the time. And I'd done a lot of vision work, but I hadn't really done it to get so crystal clear. And so this was like 2019, I think. This cottage was really drawn out, crystallized from a dream to, like, the vision of it, to writing it down. Journaling is the first download of the brain, which is really, that's why you remember the years of journaling so much. Great question, journal it, and then speak it. And so I wrote about this cottage, and it had been pushed back probably for 20 years prior. And it was never acted on because of all the reasons why it wouldn't work. And then, of course, we can keep living into that garbage and it won't work. It's like totally that simple.
Yeah.
And has there been a ton of like additional side roads and detours and some challenges and like stretching and healthy tension and unhealthy tension and all that? Yeah, there's been all of that. And though it has not happened with force, it has happened from vision and clarifying that vision and then taking action into it. And I'm so happy to say that is it's like, right, I just talked to my builder this morning, last coat of paint on the inside of the cottage.
Holy smokes. Okay, well, and you say you got this cottage out in the woods, like where?
I know. I'm not going to tell anybody where it is. No,
Freaks
I'm
me
just
out.
kidding.
No, I'm just
Poor
kidding.
people.
Where is that? Where is that? Where is this cottage? Where in the woods is it?
Well, I'm from Alabama, and you know that. And so my family, my mom and dad, have an incredible property. Um, and I think I've always honored my dad and what he's created out there. And my vision for something on that property it was so like about face different than what he has going on out there. And so, I just kept kind of like, I mean, it's just never going to happen. If I want to do this, I'll do it. I'll find some property in North Carolina, or I don't know where we'll go. But anyway, um, there's a beautiful farm outside of Birmingham, Alabama, where I grew up. It's my mom and dad's. And my dad approached me about, probably it came to life in his language probably 4 years ago. And it was like a question, like, are you ever gonna build anything out here?
Hmm.
you know and I was like, that's a door. That's a door, and of it's part of what I have seen. But I kind of needed the blessing of my dad. And that's like a whole other conversation. I think it doesn't matter where we come from. It's just there's something about knowing that your dad blesses, or anyone who really matters to you in that position, to bless your dream. And when he said that, again, I don't think I said anything like right away, but I was like, yeah, that's interesting that you would ask that. I've dreamed about it for a long, long time. And it just started opening the door to conversation, and it was scary. It was scary because I'm like, this could really go sideways, and I don't know what this looks like. Really, it's really their property. Do we get into all the legality of the property, things like that? And I'm not kidding you. It was like God just started moving mountains. He really did. Like, both in my fears and my hesitancies around pursuing it, but more so, I think, in my 80, now he's 84, or 83-year-old father, who, had things set up the way he wants them set up. And um, it just, I don't want to say it just happened. Like 25 years later, it just happened. But yeah, in a way, 25 years later, it just happened. But it was a dream, it was a seed that I planted a long, long time ago. And it's a cottage for creative women. And I can't wait to have creators out there. I'm dreaming now. Now, of course, me, I'm like, in the marketing planning stage and all that sort of stuff, and the launch, all of that, and that's the fun stuff to me. But it's also really, some days I wake up, Nick, and I'm like, just throw it away and just grab like 10 girls and just get out there and, like get in the dirt and, teach some business 101 and, be quiet. It's like I'm out there now and I realize how noisy everything is. And I think that's really probably the biggest benefit of what now the continued vision is for the space, is for women to have a space to be still and quiet and let fresh fire sort of build um, in their life.
Oh, it sounds amazing. I love it.
Yeah, Katie
And
will Katie will need to come.
she'll have to do that. and
Yeah,
maybe sometime you could host some mindful dudes out there too.
I would let you do that actually.
Yeah, that'd be neat. I
Yeah.
think I agree because I agree with you. The world is so noisy, and I love you sharing the story of where your book came from and where this cottage has come from and whatnot. And I just want to kind of crank it back a little because I want people to know the name of your second book.
Yeah.
And also I'm curious from the experience of writing the second book and the theme of the second book, how that's played part in helping you, or how you think that that's helped plant a seed for this cottage and on this place for women to go and get silent and to listen and reconnect to their purpose and create new fire. Like, how do those two go together? Like, how does that work together?
Well, don't for a minute think that it was an organized, you know, well organized, orchestrated plan. It actually, I mean, we were kind of saying this before you hit record. It's the real. If there would have been a plan, because I do like to plan and organize and work in blocks and not overcommit and stay very full, and do great work. But I've worked the other way before, and it has not been good for my health, my marriage, my relationships. So it's been great, to just kind of really turn the page from working like over crunch time, to feel like I've got to be doing more. I've got to be doing more. Um, I'm healed from that. And
Ooh,
I still work hard, and I love hard work. I love challenges in that, but I don't I don't want to go back to I know who I was during those years, So anyway, all that to say that it would have been fun for one thing to happen and roll that out, and then let another thing happen and roll that out. But as things would go, it is sort of happening all at once. And that wasn't the plan. But I can see the beauty in it, because it's actually putting me in a position of having to listen. And ironically, that's the name of my book, um, The Transformative Power of Listening. And so, without that, isn't it funny how things like that happen? Without having done this really painful healing work of writing The Transformative Power of Listening, I won't say that building the cottage would have been a fail. It certainly would have been a different experience. I think because of that, just really trusting God and having the women around me that are all actually highlighted in the book, and the things that I feel like have been planted, through many decades. Um, and the book is about all of this. I think it actually is now. I think God kind of gave me this beautiful, like real, tangible thing to build and create and design, with women in mind. from what those experiences were that I wrote about in the book. And I can't make this stuff up. Like that's why I'm like, you can't make this up. I couldn't have done it. There is a God. He's bigger than me. I couldn't have woven those two things together, you know? And by the way, like it's always wonderful to talk about the beauty of things after seeds have been planted. But so much of this is out of probably the darkest loss I ever had. And the book goes there's a snippet about that, because I think that loss can we can either choose to stay lost, or we can actually really listen differently, not to become better, but to trust differently. And I have valleys every day, but the valleys of 5 years ago were pretty dark valleys. And, that listening to the right people, listening um, to what was missing, and, putting my face into the right books and the right places, and having people that really stood for me. Um, Loss can also be the most incredible transformation for everybody. And that's not why the cottage happened, but I see it now as it's a much more meaningful cottage because of all that. It'd be easy to just turn it into an Airbnb and make a bunch of money, let people go out there. But the vision is so much bigger than that, because people need something bigger than that.
Did you know that California's electrical grid was designed for a population size from over 100 years ago? Today, there's too much congestion during the day from solar users generating power, and too much congestion in the evening when the sun goes down and households need electricity. A new program was created to address this issue by providing more homes with solar panels and batteries to help stabilize the grid. The program is fully funded, meaning homeowners can get solar and battery systems at no out of pocket costs. This setup leads to lower bills and a consistent capped rate for your power year round. Find out if your home qualifies by contacting the Eldorado Solar Dude at eldoradosolardude.com. Pat or one of his team members will help you explore the different options for your house. And don't forget to let them know that you heard about them from Play Hard and Love Big Radio. And when I hear you explain it, when I heard you explain it the first time a few minutes back, what I got from what you were sharing was really just creating a space where there's there's a place for people to create a deeper level of listening. They're going to get in the dirt. They're going to slow down and breathe. They're going to do some business work and from a new perspective, right? Because the world is so noisy. That's kind of like my synopsis of what you said. And when I heard that, I was like, whoa, this is like straight coming from a place of listening. It's hard to really listen 100% and give 100% of our attention to just like even someone's words when there's so many things going on and so many distractions happening, and so I feel like there's layers of listening, right? There's like listening to words and listening to what's missing. But can you talk a little bit about that really deep layer of listening, like listening to faith and having trust and
Mm-hmm.
for your in your God or in yourself? Like
Yeah.
how do you develop that layer of listening? How has
Wow.
that become available for you?
Well, I wish I could say that I knew the perfect answer, because if somebody wants it, then there would be an answer, but I can only answer for myself. And for myself, I know that my parents planted the seed. And this, how cool, this is like totally full circle. My parents planted the seed of faith in God in me when I was a little girl. And I can honestly say, Nick, I had a pretty great childhood. Like I went through it pretty unscathed. There are definitely things about my story that, there's hurt, and there's, things that I held against my mom and dad, and, um, all those kinds of things, that existed in childhood, but really pretty good childhood. But that seed, I'm 100% convinced that the seeds that are planted, they burrow down. They might not sprout out over, in some perfect timing, but they burrow down and they do exist. And so I know that when I'm going to get emotional a little bit, but when I've lost my business, I was independent, I was successful, I had great friends, I thought I had an incredible community around me, and I thought I knew God. And I said my prayers at night, and I leaned into him when I needed him. Um, but everything was pretty good too. I was on the cover of Yoga Journal. I was like speaking. I was like, I had a great, fun life, and I had successes that validated that. And so I think, for me, it took loss. I hate that it took loss, and I both am so grateful that it took loss. It took loss of a business that I'd poured myself into for 10, 11 years. It took loss of women that I trusted. It took loss of friendships that I thought were deeper than they were. It took, and by the way, like I had loss of like community and all kinds of other things, sort of byproducts, loss of identity, all of that
Certainly. Yeah.
was tangled up in it. And I think that when you are in the valley and you've gone through every angle of, blaming, shaming, they shouldn't have, she shouldn't have, I'm going to get revenge, I'm going to pay back, like all the like Rolodex of things that actually still aren't going to fix it. It's really your listening that is left. And then it's those seeds that, by the grace of God, maybe they were planted. For me, they had been. And the only thing that I had left was like listening to like, God, why did this happen? You know? And I think it's in those low places where it's pretty grim and dark. And you're like, I mean, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I don't trust anybody. I don't even want to be here anymore. Get me out of here. In those places of loss, I think if we're really listening, we can hear something that we've never heard before. And I think, again, it didn't happen like in some supernatural way, but what began to show up for me was the seeds that my parents had planted in me, my faith in God, seeds that I believe, and I give him the credit also for this. He had shown me how to be a good friend to a lot of people along the way. So they started showing up. Many of them, they started showing up like an army, to help me, to show me the way.
Hmm.
And to really like lift my arms when I was like, I can't lift my arms. So I think in my experience, your listening is what are you fueling yourself with along the way?
Mm,
Because you may not need it immediately, but there will be a day when you need it. And when you need it, um, gosh, I don't know what else you have to rely on. And I'm so grateful that I had faith in a big God and he had brought women around me, to hold my right side and my left side, and to help me get out of the valley. There's still some valleys for sure, but there's also what I got down there was this deeper listening for his good for my life, um, for a bigger possibility to serve. And yeah, I said this the other day, Nick, really probably for the first time in 5 years. It's been 5 years. Somebody was asking me a little bit about my story, a potential client, a prospect who now is a client. And talk that much about I don't really talk that much about myself. So thank you. I'm talking a lot about myself right now. But I'm in your position most of the time. I'm the one who's asking the questions to support women with their messaging or writing a book or getting on stage or launching a product or whatever it is. I like being the one to ask the questions. And so when somebody asks me the question, for a lot of years, even up until a couple of years ago, I really just was like, yeah, this isn't about me. This is about you. Let me ask the questions. And it was really because I just felt like I just didn't want to make it about me. But what I realized is that my story, it looked really good for a long time. And this is like before social media, you know, like my story looked pretty good, like growing up and, all those things
mm,
and business and, whatever. And loss is not a pretty thing, whatever it is. Betrayal is not pretty to go through. Whatever you feel betrayed by, a loved one, a business partner in marriage, whatever it is, like it's messy. And I I said for the first time, I said I would not be where I am or who I am. I could not provide for others what I'm capable of providing them with had I not been given the experience that I was given 5 years ago. And so for that, I am actually very grateful for it. I never I never saw those words in sight
mm.
5 years ago. So
It's amazing.
it's
What's interesting to me, we talked a little bit about this too, is about your rebranding. And so the name of your yoga studio, Z, or Big Fish Power Yoga, right?
yeah,
Big Fish Power Yoga. And then after that, you transitioned into Live Big Fish Co. So there was still like the big fish was still there, right?
yep, yep,
And now what it sounds like is that you are, in a way, like setting the big fish free. Like you're letting the big fish go swim in the sea, and you're rebranding yourself in a totally new way. This is like 5 years after the fact, right? I mean,
yeah,
is that what I'm getting?
totally what you're getting.
Yeah, it's like it's and almost like cathartic in some way. It's like you're freed up now to really serve people in a new way. And can you talk about your new branding and I mean, obviously we know you're behind it. So, but can you talk a little bit about the name and why it
Yeah,
holds value for you and where you're going now?
yeah. Thank you for letting me. I'm so yeah. I mean, again, I have to say, You can't make the stuff up. I didn't plan, the timing of it all. I didn't create the timing of it. And I'm not really sure how it's all going to, come out into the world, all these components, the book, the brand, the rebranding, the cottage. But thank you and this timing. Like, you're like, hey, you want to jump on the podcast? And it's all this stuff is like, they're all just about to sprout up, which is really fun. So, the rebrand, well, I'll say this for listeners, because I think you have a lot of entrepreneurs that you work with and speak to, and dreamers and idea people that are causing big things to happen in the world for how they serve. Um, it's no joke. Like, rebranding is no joke. And we can probably we can talk ourselves out of starting a business, changing a business, adding a product, we can talk ourselves out of anything, building the cottage, taking the risk. We can talk ourselves out of anything if we look at what it's going to take. And it's like, well, what it's going to take is your time and your treasure and your effort, and that anything that matters does. And so it could have stayed, Big Fish Co. could have lived on into the stratosphere forever. And the reality of it is, what's behind a brand, that's like a whole other conversation, But yes, to your point, what I started getting to a couple of years ago, again, it was a seed. It just started off as a seed. It was like, there was this period when the studio, the bricks and mortar, that turned into a lot more virtual business coaching, and group coaching and things like that. There was a lot of confusion. And so I just was like, well, too bad. We're just going to have to like get over the hump of confusion. I'm no longer involved in bricks and mortar studios. This is what I'm in pursuit of. This is how I'm refining, changing the brand up a little bit. People are just going to have to get over it. Well, there still was confusion, like there's always kind of been that. And where there's a lack of clarity, there's going to be confusion. So what did I expect? But nonetheless, I didn't want to put the money into it. I was already kind of jamming with what I wanted to be doing. And I felt that I was serving women, and the brand really didn't matter that much. But 5 years into it, I know how I can serve people. I know what I'm best at in serving women, and I know how I want to serve women. And so I think, a couple of years ago, that seed was sort of planted, both with, like some people being confused around like, hey, aren't you that girl that did, had those studios or whatever. And I just started kind of dreaming about, what what my message really needed to be. And what actually, because I do love the creative component of it, what does that look like? And to actually not rush it, and to certainly not pay a big marketing company to create something, but to actually do the work myself and learn how to move and listen. And by the way, I have had some help, because it's a big undertaking. But it has been an extraordinary process, and really front to back. I know people can pay tons of money to go, rebrand their business. And what I've learned also through that, I've had multiple clients, actually, they're like, I've never felt more solid about my brand now. And it's because I do sort of push for my clients to stay in the process of refining their words, refining their messaging, refining, what it is that they are going to actually stand and carry, with what they provide, how they serve people. And then from that goes on the website. And then from that, like, what are the visuals that actually resonate with you? Instead of from the outside in, it's really working from the inside out. And so I'm so excited. You want me to say the name of it?
I do. I mean, I like the name of it. I like just saying the name of it, but I would rather you said the name of it.
Well, there's a lot that goes into a name, but Entre You is the name of the company. Entre You, and the books and the cottage and the gatherings and the consulting and all of that um, will kind of fall underneath that brand. And I exist to help women develop a sense of stability by supporting them as they build the life they want in the style they choose. That's really the the heartbeat of
Can,
Entre You.
can you say that again?
Why I exist?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
loved it. And I'm sure people want to hear it again. I do.
Yeah, I exist to help women develop a sense of stability by supporting them as they build the life they want in the style they choose.
Heck yeah. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Thanks, Nick.
I love it.
It just took 20 years.
Yeah. All overnight successes take about, 30 years, but nobody sees it.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah, and
amazing.
you're right. the 10 years before that, I was just schlepping paintbrushes and helping build sets. So, yeah. All of it though, that's the thing I guess that I'd leave you with and everybody is that, you know, seeds are everywhere to grab onto and look for seeds that hold value beyond immediacy, and then also love your days.
Dang. I love listening to you, Mary Lynn.
I love you. I love being with you, Nick.
Yeah. It's been
It's
really
so
it's,
special.
it's always really special. And I what came up for me there too is and just for all the listeners out there, like the thing that I love about this podcast is, and why we're still doing it and why we keep doing it, is because it fills my soul up. I love it. And from the back end, similar to what you're talking about, there's like messy aspects of it, like the website and the logo and the social media, and that's just like all the different things that go into it. But when it's all said and done, it's a seed that, like, again, going full circle, started 7 years ago in the garage, talking to myself and talking to Bandit about life. And then it's come to this place now where I have an opportunity to sit with someone remarkable like you, Mary Lynn, and to have you share your story to help people go out and live a more purposeful and passionate life. And I always leave our conversations feeling that way. And I'm so glad that we have the opportunity to share our conversations with people. And so I have a lot of gratitude for you and for the work you're doing. It inspires me to continue moving forward and doing that work. How do people find you and connect with you moving forward?
Well, the website is like being chiseled away right now. So it'll be entreu.com, ENTRE, like Entreu. I love it so much. And, it's a play on entrepreneur too. It's
Oh,
for the
yeah.
entrepreneur. And it's also, it's entering into something.
For people that are new to the show and new to Mary Lynn, she was on our season last year. She was season number 6 and episode number 18. So if you want to go back and listen to that conversation, that was a really good conversation with some amazing heartfelt moments that I'll never forget. So again, that's season 6, episode number 18 with Mary Lyn Jenkins, and you'll want to definitely check that out. The name of your first book, Transformative Power of
Language,
Language. Second book, Transformative Power of
listening.
Y'all. They go hand in hand. And you've
Yeah.
got to get your hands on those books because they are filled with valuable information that will
Mm,
lead you to amazing places. Um,
yes.
Mary Lyn, before we sign off today, is there anything that you would like to share that you didn't have a chance to share, or you feel like is something that would be valuable to put into the show before we part?
Yeah, put your faith in God. Put your faith in something bigger than yourself. Um, be discerning in the people that you bring into your life. And when you know they are valuable, treasure them as the greatest treasures and tell them thank you a lot. And love your family, love your spouse, love and listen to your children. Because at the end of the day, when the door closes, you've got that.
Funny, my Katie told me this morning that 75% of the time that we spend with our kids is up until the age of 12. And I think that was just a friendly reminder for me and her this morning to just get grounded and get present with all the craziness and to just enjoy it as it is right now in the moment. And
Yeah.
yeah, and you have reminded me and us of that. So thank you so much. Hey everyone, thank you so much for following Play Hard and Love Big Radio, the official podcast of Spotted Dog Yoga and Stand Up Paddleboard Company here in Folsom, California. You can follow us and check us out at spotteddogyoga.com. Play Hard and Love Big Radio is dedicated to bringing you the inspirational people and their stories to help you connect to your center so that you go out and you live a more purposeful and passionate life. Mary Lyn Jenkins, my good friend, author of 2 books, one coming up really, really soon, and the founder of Entre You. Heck yeah, where you can disappear into the cottage with a bunch of ladies, get quiet, get peaceful, get zenned out, go back into the real world and kick some major ass in the way that you want to kick ass.
That is right.
That's right. But
That's right.
Mary
Thank
Lyn, thank you
you.
so much for being a part of this. We really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. It's awesome.
You're awesome. See you, everyone.